Okay.
What's up, everybody? We're back in it, to put it bluntly, podcast with Gaio and Ash. And today we're talking about a topic that I'm not as familiar with, but I love clothes, so I still want to talk about it. I want to rattle off my thoughts, opinions, and see where it goes from there, always keeping it bluntly. Now, Gaio, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your culture?
It's a thing that's been happening for many years now at this point. Something that a lot of people have critiqued, through various different seasons that have been released. Fall, winter, also like spring and summer, which is like, there's still a lot of colorism, a lot of like racism, a lot of like discrimination in the fashion industry in particular, especially when it comes to like the aspects of like designing. Styling, they let more people in there, but it's like who's really being like the creative directors, like who's actually like putting these visions out into the world. It's like and also dive a little into like it's like how do models get used to give us
Yeah.
performative senses of progressivism that are just honestly just bullshit. So yeah, that's what we're presenting today, just kind of opening up the floor and running with it.
Do you, do you think that, you mentioned, so you said there's some colorism in, not equality, I guess no equality or less equality than we would want happening in fashion. And so, are you saying this from, let's say, from a hierarchical C level? I'm the CEO of Louis Vuitton or whatever it is, or are you also talking about the models they pick or the shapes of clothes they make based off a certain body type? How
Also,
far is it going?
I think it's I think it's both, honestly. Because how I'm perceived and what I've observed in the scene is it's catered to a specific look. It can to a degree tell us that beauty is only like a specific subset. And then when it tries to expand beyond it, it's like it tries to give a performative sense that it includes people, people of like mixed, ethnic backgrounds in a sort. But in reality, it's kind of like they think they look cool. It's like a fetish of sorts, right? It's like, oh, how does this look against like this clothes, right? But it's not actually like, it's not a valuing. It's just sort of a celebration. And it's like when you have that, you have like all the models possibly be of color, but then you look at the staff team and they don't reflect that. You're like, like this is kind of just you just don't want to be called racist of sorts, right? It's one of those things.
Do you think it's like how do I say it? How bad do you think it is? Do you think it's so bad that like it's repulsive, or is it like, man, we could do better here?
Mm, I wouldn't say like the full scope. Maybe not egregious or repulsive, but definitely like, yo, we could be doing better here. It's like there are a lot of creative people that like aren't necessarily just like European or like that live in certain areas or from certain like socioeconomic backgrounds. There's a lot of talent out in the game, and I think
Yeah.
it's important to like I don't know, like try to reach out, just like and not just have it be like because you know somebody, but actually because like of your merit, like you better,
Yeah.
yeah, just let it be more about like these great minds that just kind of need a platform.
So, like I kind of said earlier, like I'm not heavily into fashion in terms of like understanding design, understanding what's going on. But, I think fashion and music kind of have been parallel in many ways. And
Hmm.
I think rather than those two becoming parallel, I think it's more that what's becoming trendy is like Black culture, hip hop,
Hmm.
um, also clothes, like from Yeezys to, Virgil Abloh, what we're going to talk about in a little bit, to just everything. It's just like all Black culture. And or at least it's always existed, I think, but I think now it's being commercialized and made profits off of it, right? I
Yeah.
guess maybe profits off of it all throughout time. But so when I see this as a consumer not really understanding the industry, I'm seeing it as, oh man, like minority groups are finally getting into power of fashion as well as music. We're
Hmm.
finally having the pinnacle to, or not having the pinnacle. We're finally getting to the top tiers of, what is fashion. There's not like they're making clothes for, well, Gap is cool now, I guess, because Kanye, but
Right.
whatever that may be. Now, when I relate it to music, I see that I guess someone outside of music would probably think the same thing. Every hot track is rap. Like rap is pop.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, the labels are still being ran by the same people. People are
Right.
still getting shortchanged. So, is that kind of what you're saying? Like, the same things happening in fashion?
Yeah. Essentially, it's as I think you brought up a great point. It's like, yeah, essentially it is like a parallel, like a reflection of it. Since they're so interlinked and they kind of function along the same lines. It's like you're having like things bleed into it that are like considered en vogue and like cool, but it's like it's just because it's cool. It's like essentially like taking
Type.
someone's art form but not appreciating the artist, and understanding the mind behind the process, right? And it's like that can lead to problems like cultural appropriation or like things of that sort, right? Which there have been a few examples when like they call out like a runway and they're like, yo, why would you like wear like fake cornrows like in a
Oh,
release?
like hair.
Yeah. Like if I'm not mistaken, it should have been like I forgot what year. It's like Bacom de Garçon, which is like a Japanese like
If you want to Google too, I know we don't got a Jamie, but
we don't.
I think we gotta sometimes fact check ourselves, even though
No, oh, it's
we
like
have.
I don't know the year, but I definitely know that it's
Yeah.
hold on, let me look it
And
up.
and only research, only like look it up if you think it's important to what you're saying. Like I don't want you to feel like you're talking about something and like not having the exact right detail, but you want to have it. And while you're searching that up,
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
I'll
So,
wait
so,
because it's gonna be more questions for you.
so I mean, it's on CNN and on BBC. Like apparently for like the brand's showcase for the fall winter 2020, they had like these white guys just come out with like cornrows and shit.
Yeah.
And they were like it was kind of the need for that. So that was one example in particular. I remember got like a lot of flack. I think there was one.
So I do wanna also talk about the idea of taking things from other cultures, and I wanna kind of like play devil's advocate
Sure.
as extreme as I can,
Yeah.
and see where we can take that. But I also don't want to get too straying off topic. So, because I wonder, it's like is it a problem for white people to have cornrows? Maybe it is if they're like blatantly just doing it to showcase something. But then again, it could be artistic. Like it's like okay, when Wu-Tang Clan used a bunch of Asian influences, like the music, the films, the fighting, is that fucked up?
I see what
I'm
you're
Asian.
saying.
I'm in rap. It's like
Yeah,
why is that not being yelled at? But then, and I'm walking a very fine line during
I
this
get
time to be fighting for like
it.
white
Right.
people should have cornrows and dreads. Like I'm not. I just
Yeah.
think like I think there's a deeper reason why we're saying you can't do that. There's a way deeper reason. If we were
I
to
think
just
so
look at
too,
things black and
man.
white.
I think what we're really saying is like, damn, like we can't even keep something. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially, it's like, yo, you already have all the privileges, right? It's like you live in a society that's even more refined, right? You have this reality that's non-existent to most people of like of color or like just BIPOCs in general, and like for them to like come in and be like, hey, let me take even more of your shit than the shit we already took from your ancestors, kind of like
Yeah,
it's like rubbing salt on the wound type thing. And it's
that's
like
exactly what I was
like
thinking.
no one likes that, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the disrespect, the audacity, the caucasity, you know what I'm saying?
Damn, that was clever. I think, yeah, man. I mean, I guess it's just tough. I think it's execution and how you do it and who does it.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw this. Do you see the whole thing with Adele that's happening
Oh yeah, the
with
Jamaican,
the
yeah, I saw that.
so before I don't like research. I don't care about gossip.
Mhm.
And so I try to stay away from it, but gossip is gossip. So even when I try to stay away from it, I know about it, right?
Right,
But I
right.
didn't like research where she was at, what she was doing, why she was doing, and all this. But I did watch other people's take on it. Watching other people's podcasts. So I have one point of view that I have digested from it. I don't know if it's true or not,
Yeah,
but I wanted to see how you felt about it from your standpoint, and then I'll
go
share
for it.
that.
Go for it. Yeah, just shit
Oh,
out.
me first. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. It's
so
like
they're
how, like
saying. So this is from the Andrew Schultz podcast, Flagrant Two. I think it's Flagrant Two, man. I hope I'm not butchering it, but big fan of Schultz. Um, so they were basically saying like she was at a festival that celebrates those type of cultures, and the
mm,
whole point of this the festival is to wear their things and to dress like them to like celebrate their culture. So it's actually welcome that she dresses up like that,
mhm,
and it was just this like very, and I'm super liberal, but very like pro-liberal argument of just getting angry at shit. And that's kind of
I
the
see what
stance
you're
that
saying.
they were putting.
No,
Uh,
that's okay for
and
sure.
before I saw that, I didn't really care either way. I was just like, here's another fucking problem. Like, I think I would rather fix what's happening in the streets than what Adele's wearing, to be very blunt.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really care about what Adele's wearing. But yeah, those are that. But then that, like, once hearing about their point of view, and if it is correct, I'm like, you guys are tripping then. Like, if you're just
Mhm.
celebrating a culture in a place that's supposed to do that, why are we so angry?
No, that's That's a really good point, man. It's because it goes back into the fundamental nature is like context, right? I think especially in this contemporary era, especially with like American liberalism in particular, there's this like headhunting that occurs that doesn't listen to reason, but it kind of self-justifies itself, saying that it's doing the right thing, right? When in reality, I think we would really be able to differentiate between what is cultural appropriation, what is discrimination, if we really like understood the full like context of things, right? So, for example, you mentioned the whole thing with Adele, right? If it's a welcome stance, and she's in an environment that would essentially like give her the green light to do such things, right? I think if we really got to nitty gritty details, we'd be like, okay, like this checks out, you know, the math checks out. But it's like some situations in particular, they don't, you know, and it's like, and I think it's like obviously we need to educate ourselves further. Sometimes things may appear a certain way, but I think that's the main distinction: context.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's just like a tough place to, or it's a tough period to be like present in.
Mm-hmm.
Like even doing podcasts like these, or I'm doing music, like the stuff I write into my music, from both sides too. Like I'm very left and I'm very liberal, so I often align to the ideas of that side. But even, and I take it to the extreme when it comes to my music, but even saying those words, I'm like, what if the other side takes it the wrong way? And I'm like, I'm
Mm,
trying to be PC for both the conservative and the left side. And it's just like a very uncomfortable place to be. And
right.
I think like there's no mandated censorship, but there's this like societal pressure to be censored. And it's
Mm-hmm.
such bullshit. Like I hate it, you know?
All right. No, but it's like, you know, that extends onto like, you know, like a greater topic. It's like what's really freedom of speech now? You know what I'm saying? It's like when we police
True.
ourselves. It's sort of a again, I think it goes back to again context, man. It's like if we don't have that, it's like we'll never really be able to know like if it's sensationalized or if it's, you know, a real problem we should address.
Yeah. Damn, when you say that, it's like we have a societal issue and we have a legal issue as well, right? Like, I mean, like the legal issues are like a lot of other things, but because we still have freedom of speech in the USA at least, uh, by law. But it's like being in high school and not doing what the popular kids are doing.
Exactly.
But the sad thing is that like you're an adult and you feel those pressures.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're a fucking man or woman, but you're still guided by what's cool by society. And then the most crazy thing is both sides are really big. Like
Right, right, right.
both sides are super popular and they
Mm-hmm.
have their own militia in terms of
Mm-hmm.
population.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a damn dude. It's a
It's
tough. It's
yeah,
tough.
it's odd, man. It's like shit, I don't even know how to put it, man. It feels childish for us to be like this grown and, you know, doing such things. You know, especially like
Yeah.
if we have uni degrees and like we can't distinguish context, it's sort of disappointing. It's like, damn, like where'd your critical thinking go? You know what I'm
Well, you
saying?
say we have degrees, but we can't separate what?
We it's like we can't differentiate context. You know what I'm saying? We can't look
Mm-hmm.
at things like beyond our perception of reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, were we just schooled or were we educated? You know, and I
Yeah.
think that's a fundamental question that I've noted. You know, here in the States, it's like we
Yep.
always like, you know, just on everybody's throats, yo. It's like it's like I think it's important to address if it's real, right?
Yeah.
But it's also
Like
like
emotional EQ too.
right, right. But it's I feel like a lot of sometimes these days it's sort of like, you know, people are just calling wolf for attention and things,
Yeah.
and it's like and not like necessarily in a bad sense, but it's like they jump the gun too fast. You know, they
Yeah,
unload the
man.
clip. You know, they pull the trigger, and it's like, and then it's like, damn, like I can't take back the wave I
Yeah.
just created. You know,
Yep. Yep.
so it's kind of like that in particular.
And I was thinking, so I was hanging out with my parents earlier, very quarantined outside,
Hmm.
more than 6 feet apart. Um, we're talking about tamales. My mom loves tamales, and I'm
Hmm.
Asian. I'm 100% Asian. Got no Hispanic in me, except tamales, because I
What
ate them.
percent? What percent?
um,
Yeah.
well, yeah, so we were just talking about tamales because my mom likes them, and then we're talking about how it's like a delicacy in Christmas time, right? It's kind of
Hmm.
like a great time for them to make it. And I'm like, yo, if I posted a picture of me making tamales in Christmas and me being fully Asian, like, would that be a problem?
It
And
could be.
if I was famous, it might be a problem. I think with my current standing, I, I don't know if it would be a problem. I don't think it would be a problem.
I don't know, man. I think, you know, you'd be surprised, man. Some people might take it as a problem. Again, because we go back to the whole context thing. It's like, you know, I don't know, man. It's like it's sad to say, but it's like because of the way we live, like we're just very irritable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I guess it's like we just like very frustrated, like, there's already been like a lot of like abuse and like oppression. So it's like what like it's like how can I see it's like when people like, when someone's being bugged and they're really stressed, even if you're trying to talk to them in the happiest way, they're gonna be like fuck off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. A little
Um,
irritated.
and I think it's like, but this is at a grander scale. So a lot of times, like it's like, we're just sort of like boiling pots, just open it up, and you're gonna get the steam, and it's gonna be
Let
hot.
the steam out.
Exactly. So it's like, I think it's a subset of like even more like intricate aspects of like of our society. It's like
Yeah.
I think yeah. I mean, this is slightly
I,
like, but I think that's why like mental health is like really important, because it could teach us how to like be able to like release that steam, so that way like whenever we're interchanging with
yeah.
individuals, we're a lot more like rational, and we really
Yeah.
take things for what they are, not what they appear to be.
I think that's really, you know what? I know, we're talking about, before we started this podcast, a potential idea we could stem off into a specific, looking into like the man masculinity side of things and with sexuality. But aside from sexuality, I think like mental health too. Um, in recent times, it's definitely become more popular to discuss it, to be accepting of it, at least on one
Mhm.
side of the spectrum. And I was always raised, and when I say raised, I don't mean like my parents raised me to think this way. I was born, I grew up, and this is how I always felt is like the quintessential like emotions are not going to impact my movement, my trajectory. It's just like I'm a man, I'm going to get over it, I'll bottle things up. And
Right.
that's how I've lived my life to this day. Like I'm not the most emotional dude, and you know that. You've known me longer than anybody else in my life that's still friends with me today.
Hmm.
um I've never been super emotional. And by the way, check me, because I think sometimes we perceive ourselves a certain way and might be different in reality. But
No, man, like you're not. It's one of those things where it's like what I've noticed is like how you perceive yourself, especially if you're a person that's very like expressive,
artistic.
very like very expressive. It's like that is how others perceive you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, cause like I'm sure like you perceive me how I want you to perceive me. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I think
Just because
there's
we're so close, is that what you mean? Like
not
because
even.
like
It's like I think it just varies by people, right? There's some people who are like completely create different aspects of self, right? And they exist like in sometimes like in three personalities, right, or more. But it's like
true, true. Yeah, yeah, I know
but I
what you
think
mean.
like you and I in particular, like we just kind of like life's a game. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah,
take it seriously. So for me, it's like I'll talk about the same things. Like I'll talk about like here in like with strangers at a party. You know what I'm saying?
you're
It's like
always
like
you.
exactly like I'm raw, dude. Like
Yeah,
it's like, and I think it's like some people are not raw. So it's like that's why.
yeah. I think I definitely do switch up personalities when it comes to business and business with business people versus business with friends or something like that.
That makes
But
sense.
what I wanted to go into was like, I've always been grown, or I've always been like the non-emotional type of dude, and I still am. Like I don't feel comfortable talking about my emotions. I think it's kind of whack, which is kind of the fundamental problem that you're bringing up, is like men are raised to not want to confront these things. And I think in like the last like 5 years is when I started to believe in anxiety. I thought anxiety was one of those things that like you're just weak, like you
Mm.
can't figure your shit out, so you say you have anxiety. But like
Okay.
lately I've been feeling it, and I guess these are what you may call anxiety attacks. But like I've had a few of those when I'm just under so much pressure, and it's like tunnel vision and things just start closing in, like not literal tunnel vision, but just like thought wise, energy wise. And it's like moving away from it. It's like, oh shit, like has this always existed throughout all of human being time, or am I understanding, is my brain recognizing it now because we've defined it?
That's an interesting question, man. I think I think some subset of anxiety has always existed. It's kind of like a base. It's I think the best way to define anxiety, sorry, like it's the feeling of uncertainty. For like the present and the future sometimes, or sometimes it could
Yeah,
be different.
that's exactly. Yeah.
But it's like I think in a developed society, in particular, hold on. Yeah.
Did you
So,
buy
like
Zoom?
yeah, like in a developed society like as this one, like we've actually created like more anxiety than perhaps like in people who like live simpler lives, because it's like so it's like I don't know, a higher percentage
More
of people
complicated.
exactly like
Social media, we have
it's like too much
pressures
shit to
that we
think
didn't have.
about, yo.
Yeah.
It's like reality. Most shit's simple, man. Like It's like me over here, like I have anxiety, but someone who possibly, is like, I don't know, not to like I idealize or romanticize the sense of like, like a farmer or something, right? But it's more so it's
But
like,
it's simpler.
but it's simpler. So it's like you're dealing with that shit, So it's like if you're dealing with that shit, your mind is more at ease, yo. In comparison to like us,
Damn,
it's
bro.
like think about it. It's like perhaps like I don't know, maybe a farmer like in in some country in the third world, right? They're trying to eat, yo. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
when we go eat, we're like, am I feeling pizza? Do I want like Indian food? Do I want
Are
like
we doing vegan
are we
tonight?
doing vegan? Is it gluten free? And it's just like we
Shit don't
complicate it.
matter.
And then at the sudden it's like, did you enjoy your meal? I don't know if they do, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the farmer in another like like in with less privilege is kind of like, damn, shit's dead. You know what I'm saying?
Rice and potatoes for the
Exactly, and
ninth time in a row.
it's like and they're strong as fuck, and they live longer sometimes. And that really comes to question, right?
Yeah, man.
Like that it's always
Man.
existed and it always will, but it's like developed society is paradoxical.
Have you like I mean, I'm sure you're like anxious too, right? Like you have anxiety. I'm sure you go through those things because otherwise, I would assume. Is that fair to assume before I continue?
No, absolutely, man. It's like I am but a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a human, but an ape, right? So it's like yeah, I have it, but it's like I taught myself how to like how to get out of it.
Deal with it. So
Obviously,
that's my next question. How do you do it? That's kind of what I wanted to hear you
uh,
out on.
for me in particular, man. For example, if I'm just open, like my latest like anxiety was like the non-mobility due to the
Mm.
COVID, right? That I know a lot of us have experienced. I got rid of that by legit like leaving Austin,
By moving,
by
by being
moving.
mobile.
Exactly, and it's like I know for me, it's like how I get rid of anxiety is by doing shit. It's
Yeah.
like I think there was this adage that said it's like the only salvation is by doing, right? Because like anxiety is this created sense of uncertainty, but it's like you can shake uncertainty by creating action. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like so that's how I did it. I knew like, hey, it's like Austin feels a specific way. Like I need a fundamental change in who I am. Like you have to know yourself and then be like, okay, like, I think this place is gonna yield me better results. And for me, like Houston has been that, like I'm a lot
Yeah.
happier out here. Like I feel more welcome.
That makes sense, man. Because you said it right. Like it's like anxiety is based off of uncertainty, and then if you make actions, then it's certain because
Yeah,
you made the
exactly.
choices. So you're just answering your questions. That's man. That's a. It makes complete sense once you've said it all, but that's like not where I thought you were gonna go. Like I was like, in ways you would cope with anxiety. Like I think I've been figuring out ways too, and and speaking to Angel, which shout out, we're gonna do a podcast with him soon.
Yeah.
Little precursor, but he's gone through that, and throughout that we were both kind of discussing in ways how we could deal with it, because when it gets really hard, it's really hard. Like it kind of gets in the way of life, and so
Mm.
he was doing meditation, eating very healthy, working out, getting the energy out, and I think eventually he was able to find a way to kind of fix it. And I don't want to speak too much on his
Yeah.
process, but for me too, I think one, I do need to exercise a lot more. I think with the pandemic, my gym routine has just gone out the window,
Mm-hmm.
going from like 5 days a week to just no days a week. So,
Right.
it's lit. What you scratching, bro?
I'm not scratching. I'm taking off my shoes, dude. Relax. Trying to
I
put my
had to call
feet
you
up.
out. You look, so you're like,
Nah. It's because
I was like, what you doing?
I have some chunky ass sneakers, and can't just throw them on the
You got
floor.
some chunky ass something else. I get it.
Hey,
Trying to
chill,
pack heat,
chill,
packing heat, dog.
chill, chill, dude.
Hey, the Neil deGrasse Tyson. What's that? What does it say on it?
It's like watch out, we got a badass. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
No, but I was gonna say like yeah, like I started doing yoga a lot more in replacement of gym, because like it's more lazy proof. I bought a yoga. You like that, right?
I did.
So yeah, like I just YouTube video. Shout out Yoga for Men. I believe that's the YouTube channel. Actually, just YouTube Yoga for Men, and you'll find the channel. Oh, Breathe and Flow. Damn, I hope I get it right. I'm so bad with this. Breathe and Flow. Um, yeah, breathe and flow. But anyways, I started doing it, and it really taught me the importance of breathing.
Mm,
And I was like, and then it was like an epiphany. Like maybe we're just having anxiety because we're not breathing. Like I
mm.
think people have such shallow breaths when we don't think about breathing, even though it's like literally our life. If we don't breathe, we die.
Right.
Um, so doing like breath work has been very eye opening, and it's been kind of hallucinating too.
Mm.
Like I've had some very weird experiences doing breath work. Are you familiar with like any type of breath work? Like what I mean by that?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I use breathwork more for like, how would I put it? Immediate anxiety.
Yes, 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 yes.
Because it's like if I'm like, if the moment is like overbearing, like controlling my breath just it brings me in. So it's for me it's a very like it's immediate response, The other one is like long term.
Have you heard of the breath works that kind of like are like a coffee in a sense? It kind of builds
Hmm,
you an energy. I
no.
I might be butchering this because I'm really new to this. I'm getting into it. I'm trying to learn about it. Halotropic maybe, but essentially
Uh,
when you like you breathe out all the air you have, and then I don't want to do it on camera because it's kind of embarrassing, but you just continue that motion, and you're like in your last breath, and you're just like almost forcing the
interesting.
breath out. Like you're
Wow.
not breathing out. Yeah, it's almost a reflex rather than an action to breathe out. And you
Mm,
do it. There's like counts. You do like it's like do 12, do 24, do 48 or whatever. And I think there's like a very strategic way to do it. But doing that, it's really bizarre like state to be in. And then like when you come out of it, I feel more awake. Like I like doing it in the mornings and stuff. It just like alerts me real quick. But anyways, we're going off on a huge tangent to
yeah,
like meditation and
yeah,
breath
we,
work.
we definitely went on a tangent.
But when we're starting off, we covered social media, the pressures that it creates, and then, what's popping now with Black culture. To be very upfront, like that's what's popping. Everything that's in the forefront is Black culture right now. Um, and then Virgil Abloh, I think that kind of like brings the two together.
It
You
brings it
shared an
back in,
article with
man.
me.
I
Yeah,
did,
like
man. Because I know what is it when maybe like when COVID started, like he got. Oh, actually, not just COVID. Like when the recent like surge in BLM during COVID, like protests happened. Like he got a lot of fire.
was
Um,
it based off of the stuff that was in the article you sent me, like specifically that, or is there more?
So what I've heard is like what was in the article, right? Which is like he only donated like $50 to one of the liberation funds, I think, right? And like so it's like damn, like this man makes like probably millions, dude. He's like
Who's the
just
head of what big fashion company is he head of right now, or like the
um
designer?
so what is it? Creative director for like Louis Vuitton.
Louis, yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
so it's like so
I'm sure he makes more
yeah,
than
yeah, no,
I'm
for
sure he
sure.
can afford more than 50.
And then just look at his own brand, like like an off-white shirt and like just a tee sells for like
Yeah,
80 bucks, dude. Just like
yeah.
it's like that's more than what you like
That
like
was probably a profit for one shirt sale from
right.
bad labor.
So like there's that, right? And then also what's the other part? Oh yeah, when they started rating stores.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like one of them particular. What I've heard is like that they really like the store in like I think it was in LA. And it was like a white owned store, right? And it's like he gave much like he essentially like was more harsh on the protesters for ransacking that store than sort of like voicing up for the movement. Like for BLM. So that was kind of what happened. It's like so it kind of felt like his allegiances were like misplaced, right? It's like on one side like there's a man of color, right? And he's out here like kind of like focusing more on like the capitalism and and the money, instead of like and also like also maybe perceived as a little bit of betrayal, right? It's like damn, like you're judging your own group of people, those who look like you, in lieu of like these other individuals, right? That it's like they already have privilege and stuff, right? So that kind of opened up the floor for how I perceive it to like be like, all right, let's look into his actual like trends. You know what I'm saying? It's like who is he really, right? Or like what has he been doing? And it's like that's when like he just kind of got like some heavy fire. I think those two in conjunction were like, damn, are you with us or against us?
I think the $50 thing, like no excuse, like bro, unless you bad with money like Kanye, like you got
Yeah.
some deals that went south and you really broke and you can't talk about it. All right,
Mm-hmm.
you don't share the screenshot, but like there's no excuse to you not donating more money if you're trying to
Right.
show that you're helping the cause.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to his speaking out about vandalism, I want to use like another scenario and see if people would react differently, and it's not like I'm just not making the scenario up like metaphorically. Like I think that it's not. I think it's happened because I've seen videos of it. Um, when you see like neighborhood mom and pop stores that are black owned, and throughout the protest, it gets vandalized. And there's the videos that have popped up where like store owners are there while it's being vandalized, and and they have an emotional reaction to it. They're like, dude, this is my livelihood. I've
Mhm.
spent decades trying to make this work for my family, myself,
Right.
and you are vandalizing a black-owned business, protesting black people rights. And
Right. Right.
I think everyone would agree, unless you're fucking insane, that we feel empathy for that person. Like at least I do, man. I was
Mhm.
heartbroken. I'm like, damn, dude, like this whole cause that's fighting for your people is also destroying your life that you've worked so hard to build. You know,
Right,
so
but it wasn't like a black-owned business though, from what
no,
I've.
no, no. But I'm saying more. I'm not. I realize that. But I'm saying more like the same shit's happening. You're vandalizing a person's well-being. It doesn't matter if it's white owned, Mexican owned, black owned. It's like unless that person outright, did something that was very foul towards another race and it was a retaliation, that I
Mhm.
got more understanding for. But if you're
Yeah.
just blindly looting and rioting just for the sake of doing that, I don't agree with it. Granted, do I think there's this post that goes around and I'm sure everyone's seen it, it's like a meme now where it's like um looting and rioting, or more like looting is not like I'm gonna butcher this, but essentially, looting happens while protesting, shame, shame, shame. But then also like, when you're arresting someone doesn't mean you got to kill them. The comparison of murdering during an arrest to looting during a protest.
Mhm.
Like the metaphors there, if that makes sense. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
I get all that, and I'm like, in a perfect world, I wish there was cops that didn't have to murder people to arrest them, and then I wish there was protests that happened that didn't have to loot people. But I think Virgil Abloh is coming from this perspective of his whole life has been to build this fashion brand, right? To do clothes, and he's gotten to the top. And then now that he's at the top, he's saying these things that are like, dude, you're fucking rich. Why are you complaining about this stuff? But I think maybe it's coming from a better place and we're just reading it the wrong way, like the perception. It's like maybe he's just trying to fight for people who are trying to start these businesses in these stores that are like people's livelihood.
Right. Right.
It's his livelihood too. It's not like not. I'm not saying it's not a selfish act, but you got like I'm gonna protect what's mine. I'm not gonna let somebody to vandalize my fucking house.
Mhm.
Now, if I were to run $1 billion merch store, I also don't want anybody to vandalize my store.
Mhm.
Like, so what do you think about like that perspective?
Oh, well, it's like, I mean, with certain contexts, it's definitely applicable, but it could also just be like a privileged person focusing on the wrong thing. It's like,
Hmm.
so
Okay.
it's that could really be it. It's like, for example, it's like,
There's
has
a
he lost
bigger thing in play.
exactly like is it has he lost connection to like the oppression of other people because he is now like to some degree a token, right?
Mm,
It's
yeah.
like, are you really just being, I don't think I'm gonna execute this well, but essentially, like, are you being off white? You know what I'm saying? Um,
Would you say that to the black mom and pop store, black owned mom and pop store that's getting vandalized, but they're just like a mom and pop store? Would you say the same thing to them? Like this message is bigger than you,
uh,
that we're trying to fight
well,
for our people?
I think we go back again to context. It's like, at least for me in particular, it has to do with like sort of more like a utilitarian sense of it, right? It's like a mom and pa. It's like it's probably not gonna have as much money as as
Sure.
like Virgil
They can't take it.
Abloh. Exactly, but it's like your shirts are already selling so expensive. You know what I'm saying? It's like your clientele is a certain clientele. Like, are you really losing like as much as you are trying to make it seem? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just like how I see it's kind of the equivalent of like me throwing like a really small rock at a bull, and then being like, it's like I killed it. Like, no, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
No, I didn't.
you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. Meanwhile, like
Sit
if I
down, Virgil.
I mean, like if I throw like a small rock at like like maybe like I mean like I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but it's like like if you throw like at a chihuahua, like it hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that there's scales to this shit. Is what I'm really trying to say. And I
Yeah.
think like again, it's like goes back to context. Like you have to be able to know both the scales, like the full information, the implications, and like, and I think if you can do that, it's like that's when you can get like, okay, like maybe we should like critique this person.
Yeah.
It's like maybe they shouldn't get a slap in the wrist. It's like like bring it back. Sort of.
I agree. By the way, I'm playing devil's advocate because that's what me and Luis do, like, or me and Gaio do, right? We like to play both sides, and you got to argue for the other side and see what happens. Um, but yeah, I've only read one article, so I'm not gonna say I know what Virgil Abloh is
All right,
all about. But based off the article, I do. Yeah, I agree. I think he's very misguided, and it's like I'm sure you got millions of dollars in your bank. You
all right,
you can afford to lose a store, and maybe you can't afford to lose a store, but based on who you are and who you're talking to and who your audience is, they don't give a fuck what you think like that.
all right,
Especially if
right.
you're, maybe your other demographics may, but the demographics that are actually offended don't care that your store is being looted. Like they have a bigger mission in mind.
Yeah, and
And I think the
also like,
worst thing.
go
Go ahead.
And it also like it's like going back to the whole frustration thing. It's like there's already a lot of agitation because of this, and to kind of see like who's supposed to be one of your own like not stand in
Mhm.
solidarity, kind of hurts. So it's like then you start critiquing other things, right? For this in particular, like it's like you're like damn, like you're selling your shirt for like $80 a shirt, right? It's like the people buying this are clearly not your own. It's like it's clearly like the white kids from Calabasas sort of like
Mhm.
environment, right? So it's like so then that gets like critiqued as well. So it's like it's just sort of like a like a domino effect. Like you started here, now we're gonna like really like analyze it. You know what I'm saying? For like the paradoxes that exist in your being or seemingly.
Yeah, man. And actually, I wanted to say also, like, what about? Well, how do you think that every black person needs to fight for this right? Right. Like, and I'm not saying that they would not fight because they don't want to, but I'm saying maybe it's in regard to like maybe they're just tired, man. Like their life is already as hard as it is. The last thing they want to do is like fight, literally risking their life, in a protest or wherever it may be. Because at this point, you might as well risk your life when you're going to a protest. With the way things are going. So, do you think that the same societal pressures we put on Twitter in high school, same reason why this movement is a little bit toxic whenever you expect everyone to act the exact same way? Like, does
Um,
Virgil need to actually do? I mean, the answer is no. He doesn't need to actually do anything. But how would people perceive it?
I think you bring up a good point. But it further adds to the complexity. I would say it doesn't like demerit it or anything like that. But I think we go back to
Yeah,
the how the states just sensationalize this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like um, so that's kind of odd, right? Sometimes it's like, are you really about this, or like are you just doing it because it's in vogue? You know what I'm saying?
sure,
Do you it's like or do you just want to like be caught up with the contemporary times and be accepted as a member of your society, right? It's like, or do you actually care about these things, right? It's like, and I feel like in the states, like just some people are just going with the wave, they
yeah.
like they just want to be a part of this crowd, this big tribe, that it's sort of like yeah, I think the main problem is always like the American like culture, not more so like the movements that it can create.
Sure. Yeah, the most infuriating thing I saw was like this girl who I'm sure there's multiple videos like these or people that got caught, but they would like go to spray BLM or something, but it was
Yeah,
just for an Instagram picture, and they would just like
yeah,
walk away, get in the car, and leave, and then like the person who was doing it goes back to doing their thing.
right.
I was like, how can you literally think you would not get caught in public trying to do this for the gram when there's cameras everywhere? And I'm like people's need to get likes is really sad. And I don't want to say like I'm impervious to it. I love it when my song does well and I get it like I love numbers, when I hit 1,000 this, 2,000 that, 3,000 this, like it feels great. But I think I know I wouldn't like I have no want to milk this to get more likes though.
Mm-hmm.
That thought never occurred in my head. Like, let me go to a protest, get some pics from my gram so I look fly as hell. Like that thought never entered my mind.
I find it really interesting how like we started off with like an initial like topic, but I think we kind of morphed it into like more of like a conversation on like contemporary like culture. You know
Socials.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah, like it's like how I mean obviously fashion's a part of that. Like music is, it's like Twitter, like Facebook, Instagram,
yeah.
like photos. So it's like it's become much more of like a bit of a conversation on that, in its full scope.
And I think it's just because everything's connected now.
Right, right,
Like
of course.
like fashion's connected to music, which is connected to words that we use, slang, the way and
Hmm.
like everything is just like this melting pot of culture,
Right,
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
And but
It's like
yeah.
our contemporary culture.
So how do you feel? So look, man, I know in college you were a big Fear of God fan. Wait, Fear of God is Virgil Abloh, right?
No, Fear God is
That's how bad I'm at this shit.
I forgot his name,
It
dude.
don't matter. But do you
Uh,
like you like Off White too in college, right?
I
Like I'm
mean,
assuming you're a Virgil.
here's the thing, It's like for me, it's like there's I can still appreciate a good design. It's like I'm not gonna just downplay something, just because of like how social like how a certain group or subset in social media may want to like perceive things.
Dude, what if
For
he's
me,
pulling a Kanye?
I don't know. It's
What
just
if you took
like
some notes from Kanye? Like, this is how I get on top of all trending alerts. I'm gonna say some wild shit, and then I'm gonna
I
drop a
don't
new
know.
fashion line next week.
I don't know, man. It's like, but it's like again, I think it comes down to it's like how would I put it? It's like if you actually like if you actually fully like something like and you can afford it, then buy it. But it's like I mean, I think it's possible to still like hold these conversations and like still like purchase like maybe some of his products because it's like it's not just him on that team. You know what I'm saying? It's like there are also like other individuals that are like putting forth like their time and effort and so it's sort of a collective. So it's like I think you can still talk on
Damn.
something and still interact with it and maybe for some people this is a hot take, but it's like it really isn't. It's like because nowadays they're like, oh, like it's like if they get flagged for something, like fuck all of their work, right? But it's like it's nuance, man, and it's like and it goes back to context once again. It's like because it's nuanced, it's not only just in like in actions, but also time and all these subsets of like influences and like Kanye in particular, right? It's like his mom dying, like mental instability, all these different things like really need to be like considered. It's like, but it's like we want like a blanket statement, we want to not understand that things are, they're
Yeah.
detailed, and it's like, and I think is if we continue to do that, like our freedom of expression it actually becomes like a golden cage instead of actually allowing us to like express properly.
Yeah, man. That's actually a really good spot to end it at, I think.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah, man, I think people don't take the full story and they judge based on what's the headline. And that unfortunately that's what's hot in this culture. And we're gonna do this too. Our title on these podcasts are gonna be poppy, you
right,
know?
right,
And
yeah.
that's what it is.
But we
At the end of
acknowledge
the
our
day,
hypocrisy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
dude, yeah.
yeah, and I think that's the important part. It's like, yo, it's like we know we're gonna partake in it, but it's like we're still gonna hold the conversations that must be held.
Yeah. You gotta control what you can control. You can't control other people's jumping to conclusions, but you can control your thought to not care about what they say.
Yeah, correct. It's I think it's just life is lived very well in stoic approach. It's like do what you can. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like focus on you, but like also
Yeah.
realize it's like yo, it's like it's fluid out there. So just also go with
Yeah.
the wind.
We got to make some tamales in December so I can get an Instagram pic. Can I do your family's house? Is that something I can do so I
Oh
don't look
no, we
racist?
don't do tamales, man. It's like
Nah, I'm fucking with you.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a really a Salvadorian thing. Tamales,
Well, we
right?
do a specific type of tamale, but it's not like it's not it's like you might be referring. I don't know if you're referring. I don't want to assume either, but it's like I think you're referring to like the Mexican tamales. Um,
Yeah, I would be. I think you. I don't know the difference between the various cultures, but I definitely have made tamales with Mexican households.
okay,
So that's probably the one I know the best.
yeah, which is delicious as fuck. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they're not the ones we make.
So pupusas are Honduran, right?
Well, there's
Or
a
they
the,
stem
the
in different places
the
and they make
jury
it
is
what it
out.
is.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like from what I know, it's like they're Salvadoran. Yeah, that's not to say like Hondurans couldn't make it, but it's
Talk your shit. Talk your
but
shit.
it's like I don't want to get into it. But the jury's out. Let's put it that. It's kind of like arepas between like Colombia and Venezuela, right?
Yeah,
It's like they
yeah.
both make them, but it's like it's always like, oh, who makes them better? Where are they
So
really from? It's like doesn't matter. It's like
yeah,
just choose the one that tastes best to you. For me, that's Salvadoran pupusa. So that's where my allegiances lie.
I say both. Eat both.
I mean, I've tried both. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, the specific like code, like a specific like soul behind like that one in
Yeah,
particular, right? And it's like if someone finds more soul in the other one, like go for it. But it's like for me, that's my take.
yeah. Like Indian curries and Nepali curries are completely different,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't even compare them in my mind. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just different.
Okay.
Like you don't. That's not the same food, even though it is. But
Mm.
anyways, before we turn this into
That's
a
true.
food
Food.
podcast, we might have to do it another time. Oh wait, hey, second episode, kicking
Like
it
an
off.
episode, yeah. We just closing it.
All right, man. Let's do another forevermore.
All right, man. Au revoir.
Adios.